If Mom's here, I need to worry about nothing anymore, my husband, Jake said coldly. You can just leave. His words were a blow, especially after I had contributed $11,500 a month to his mother, Catherine. Adding insult to injury, Catherine was there, and even she chimed in, we don't need a wife. You can't even manage household chores properly. They sneered, thinking they could easily get rid of me. I realized my efforts for these people were futile. I finally decided and replied with a smile, oh really? Okay then. I'll leave, huh? My name is Karen. I'm a 32-year-old office worker. I met Jake at a mixer my friends invited me to. Thanks to his bright and friendly nature, we quickly hit it off, and our relationship smoothly progressed to marriage. Now, in its 5th year, we don't have children yet. Jake had lived with Catherine before we married, but upon getting married, we decided to build a new house on his family's property. It was Jake's idea. I'm worried about Mom living alone, so I want to live nearby, but I also want to stay separate for our newlywed period. So this is the best solution, he explained. Building a house meant a huge mortgage, right? Don't worry about that, Catherine said. Mom is supposed to use my late father's inheritance to pay for the house in full. So we'll have no mortgage. The house will be in your name, and we don't have to pay for the land. We just have to send her some money monthly. Yes, support. Is that okay? Can she manage on that? She'll be fine. She has her part-time job and her pension in addition to that. Okay then. It's going to work out. I was relieved. Plus, when you're late from work, Mom can help us out with the chores. Even though we were going to live on the same property as his mother, our houses were separate, so we could enjoy our newlywed life and build our dream home. I was filled with hope. Besides, it seemed ideal that we were getting help with household chores in tough times. However, I soon realized how naive this idea was. Initially, our marriage was blissful. Though I was busy with work, it wasn't so tough to do household chores for two. And because it was new, it didn't take much time to clean the house. Since Catherine was working part-time, we seldom saw each other. Regarding the sharing ratio of the monthly allowance and living expenses, we initially decided to share the costs equally. But Jake suggested, I'll cover all her living expenses. Can you handle all the allowance for her every month? You can put your money directly in Mom's account. How much should I give her? Well, how about $1,500 every month? Though it was over half of my salary, I realized that living expenses like utilities, food, medical, and clothing would cost more, so Jake's share was larger. It was a substantial expense. I had Jake go into his salary and joint account, and I also put the rest of my salary in there after I sent Catherine $1,500. Any surplus was saved. This went smoothly for about a year until Catherine quit her job and started visiting us often. I'm getting old, so I decided to quit and relax, she said. Yay, you're right, Mom. We're working, so you don't have to push yourself anymore, Jake said. Thank you, Jake. You're such a kind son. Those were all fine, just as common conversations between a nice parent and child, until she said, but the cleaning isn't done properly. There's dust in the corners. Sorry, we've been busy with work. That's just an excuse. You live in Jake's house, so you should at least manage the chores properly. And I heard you don't cook properly either. We sometimes have simple meals when I'm late from work. What a mistake in accepting you as Jake's wife. And no grandchildren yet. It's not only my fault we can't have a child. Arguing would only worsen her sarcasm. First of all, wasn't she supposed to help us out when we were busy with work? But it seemed they both had completely forgotten that promise. I tried to ignore her snide remarks when she was around. Then another blow came. Our joint account funds kept decreasing. Jake's salary hadn't been deposited for 3 months. Why hasn't your salary been deposited? I asked. Oh, about that. Jake reluctantly explained the reason, which was shocking. He had quit his job and was searching for a new one. He'd been telling me he was going out to work, but actually, he was doing job hunting. Why did you quit? Why didn't you tell me something so important? That's terrible. My boss, he's a nasty guy. He keeps nagging about even the smallest mistakes. People mess up sometimes, right? According to Jake, his ordering mistake had caused a significant loss for the company. I think any boss would have reprimanded him, but he didn't think he was at fault. Even if I were his boss, I'd find such an employee undesirable. But since he already quit, there was nothing to be done about it now. So I decided to discuss our future. Any prospects to find a new job? Well, not yet. There's no good company for now that matches my abilities. Maybe you should consider taking a job at a slightly lower level for now. No. I want to find a place where I can stick it out until retirement, so I'm being careful in my choice. But what about our living expenses? You're working too, right? You can support me for a while. Realizing he wouldn't change his mind, I decided to wait until he found a new job. But our income was halved after the $1,500 monthly allowance to his mother. We had little left, so we had to dip into our savings. Indeed, our savings were almost gone. To increase my income, I started working overtime. My company appreciated my work, so they happily welcomed my extra hours. But one day, when I came home late from work, Catherine was waiting. What's going on? A wife not doing any household chores is unheard of. I'm sorry. I've been busy with work. Are you sure you work? Are you just out having fun? And how dare you ask Jake for more money? Our living expenses and the allowance to you are too much for just my salary. As soon as I said this, she became furious. Huh, you're acting all high and mighty over a mere $1,500 a month, living in Jake's house rent-free and not even doing chores? And how could you say that? It's mere $1,500? That's the money I've worked so hard for. She seemed to take the monthly allowance for granted and lost her sense of money. If I don't do the chores, Jake will have a hard time. It's all because of such a useless wife like you, she arrogantly said. But all she did was bring home store-bought side dishes and only did laundry for herself and Jake. The kitchen sink was always piled with dirty dishes. She would prepare dinner for herself and Jake, but never for me. She told me to eat their leftovers. Jake, just sitting on the couch watching TV, wouldn't even try to help me. From Catherine's harsh words and seeing how Jake was acting, I felt I was falling out of love with him. His job hunt was going nowhere due to his pride, aiming only for top-tier companies. After a year, he was still unemployed, spending his days lounging around doing nothing at home. Listen, we're going to run out of savings at this rate. Can't you at least get a part-time job to help with expenses? Jake glared at me. This house is in my name. It's mine. You're living here thanks to me, and you're a wife who can't even properly take care of her husband. It's only natural for you to pay the living expenses. I mean, we're going to see no future in our lives if this goes on. I'm the one paying for everything, including the allowance for your mom. It's just $1,500 a month. You're being persistent. If you don't like it, leave my house, he said, hitting the table and storming out of the room. He also referred to the money I worked hard to earn as just $1,500. The relationship between us became more strained than ever. Then one day, there was unexpected good news. Jake got a chance to work at a company owned by one of Catherine's acquaintances. The salary wouldn't be as high as his previous job, but I was relieved he'd be working again. Jake was hired on a 3-month trial period. First, it's not the kind of company a talented person like me should work at, but Mom introduced me, so I couldn't refuse, he said. I'm just glad you're willing to work. Do your best to get hired permanently. But I never knew his joining this company would make things even worse. He started going to work eagerly, but after a month, he began coming home late or not at all. I noticed a strange perfume scent on his jacket. Moreover, he stopped putting his salary into our joint account and even started withdrawing money without my knowledge. I continued the monthly allowance to Catherine, but I just tried to stop depositing my money in our joint account. Then Jake exploded in anger and yelled at me, "You haven't been putting your money in the account, have you? There's no money left. You haven't been putting your salary in either, have you? What on earth are you spending it on? Shut up. I have my social obligations. That's ridiculous. Are you planning to live off my earnings? If you put in for our living expenses, I will too. It's my house you're living in, so it's only natural for you to pay." He believed it was natural for me to pay for everything, including the money to his mother and our living expenses, while he spent all his earnings on himself. I was dumbfounded by his words. At this point, I didn't mention anything since I had no proof, but I decided to investigate his suspicious behavior. I wanted to hire a private investigator, but I couldn't afford to spend tens of thousands of dollars. I'll have to do it myself, I thought. First, I decided to check his phone while he was sleeping deeply. I remembered that he usually used his fingerprint to unlock it. I gently touched his index finger to his phone while he was sound asleep. As I thought, it unlocked. Inside, I found frequent exchanges with a woman named Lisa, a stranger to me. The content was appalling. Today's date was so much fun. I want to be with you forever. Will you marry me? I'll get rid of her. Just wait. Can't wait to live together in our new home. Such nauseating conversations continued. I sent the data to my phone. Later, I went out to a certain place to investigate Lisa. One day after work, I returned home to find a pile of luggage at the entrance. What's this? You don't do any housework, so I'm having Mom move in. You decided this without discussing it with me? It's my house, so it's my call. You have no right to complain. I think I have a right since I contribute to the living expenses and the money sent to your mother. Anyway, we don't need you if Mom lives with me, so just leave, Jake said coldly. Me, who had been sending $1,500 every single month to his mother, Catherine, added insult to injury. We don't need a wife. You can't even do housework properly, she said, smiling slightly. She seemed to think they could easily kick me out. Realizing my contributions to these people were meaningless, I finally made up my mind and replied with a smile, "Oh really? Okay. I'll leave, huh? But in return, you'll have to pay for your affair." What affair? What are you talking about? Suddenly, Jake started to panic. So Lisa is a 27-year-old receptionist at your company, huh? Planning to replace me with her in this house, right? Cut it out. You're just being paranoid without any proof. I do have proof. I showed him the email exchanges I had saved on my phone. I also showed him the photos I had taken while investigating Lisa and following them discreetly to a hotel. Realizing he couldn't escape, faced with the evidence, Jake started making excuses. We're always fighting, and Mom keeps nagging me to kick you out. And what does that have to do with cheating? I had no choice. Lisa is my destiny. I felt disgusted at how he was smitten with a younger woman, calling her his destiny. I regretted having devoted myself to such a man. I've had enough. But I will be taking a fair amount for the affair and alimony, and I'll also be claiming from the woman. You know I don't have any money, right? Why don't you and Lisa start working then? Oh, and your mom will help with the housework, right? Catherine was stunned for a moment, not knowing about Lisa, but then snapped back to reality. A young and pretty girl is better than a terrible wife like you. Pack your things and get out of Jake's house. Okay. So first, write this. I took out the divorce petition I had prepared in advance from my bag and asked Jake to fill it out. When did you even prepare this? You told me to get out of your house during our fight. Remember? I prepared it right after that. Jake looked surprised but filled it out. All right. So I'll file this. As for my belongings, I'll have the movers transport them once I find a new place. Leave as soon as you can. That day, I took only what I could carry in my bag and went back to my parents' house. They were surprised by my sudden return, but welcomed me warmly, sensing something was wrong with me. The next day, I took a few days off work and started making things proceed. I filed the divorce, hired a lawyer for the divorce proceedings and alimony claims, and looked for a new place to live. It was busy, but I was fulfilled. I never wanted to have anything to do with those two ever again. I found a pretty apartment, perfect for living alone and arranged for movers. Only on the moving day did I go back to my former home. Jake was out at work, but Catherine was there. I had the movers take my belongings, furniture, and appliances. Are you taking everything? The house will be empty. I bought everything in this house when we got married. He bought a house, and I bought the furniture and appliances with my savings. If you insist the house is Jake's, then these items are mine. She had nothing to say and looked frustrated. Once I moved into the apartment, I started enjoying my free single life. I could spend my entire salary on myself. Thanks to working hard and diligently, I even got promoted and increased my income. About 3 months into this new life, I received many calls from Catherine. I regretted not having blocked her number earlier, but the phone rang so persistently that I finally had no choice but to answer it. Karen, finally, you picked up. What do you want? Please come back. What? What are you talking about? Didn't you tell me to leave? I apologize. I regret everything. Come live with us and please send my account the $1,500 every month again, like before. Such a selfish person. According to her, Jake's affair was discovered at his workplace. He missed the chance to be hired as a full-time employee and was living off a part-time job now. He and Lisa moved in together, but Lisa didn't want to live with Catherine, so Catherine moved back to her old house with no financial support from me and even her son. She was struggling, living only on her pension. We have no relationship anymore, so I will not. I firmly refused and blocked her number. I also blocked Jake's number. I truly didn't want to be involved with them anymore. A few days later, as I was leaving work, Jake waited for me outside my office. Karen, I apologize. Please give me another chance. Look, he begged, kneeling on the street. He told me living with Lisa turned out to be terrible. She couldn't handle household chores at all, and after her affair was exposed, she quit her job because it became too uncomfortable to stay. Lisa couldn't stand the moneyless life with Jake. They fought every day. She ended up leaving him. It's too late. I never want to see you again. If you do this again, I'll call the police. Please wait. Please. After that, through my lawyer, I received $30,000 in alimony from Jake and $155,000 from Lisa. I heard that Jake borrowed money from unsafe resources to pay the alimony and is now juggling multiple part-time jobs to pay back his huge debt. Frightened by debt collectors, Catherine also returned to part-time work and is living a hard life with little money. They blame each other for their current situation. Now they are on bad terms. Lisa started working at a nightclub after leaving the company and breaking up with Jake. She's now struggling to repay her debts as well as his. As for me, I started a new life in my apartment, having a cute puppy and enjoying peaceful and happy days. I'm looking forward to meeting someone wonderful.